Good evening, fellow Tigers and fellow award winners. First of all, I want to express my sincere gratitude for the award being bestowed upon me tonight. It is a humbling moment, but it is also a time for reflection. Incredibly, my connection to the university community goes back exactly 95 years. In July 1929, my maternal grandmother, Gertrude Lang, received a life certificate from the Kansas State Teachers College of Hayes, granting her a license to teach in the public schools of Kansas. Fast forward to tonight. My nephew, Hunter Metzger, who is present, is walking the same grounds as a college freshman that his great-grandmother walked on almost a century ago. So the attachment to Fort Hays State University is deeply personal and long-standing. This requires recollection of others important to me in life. My parents were always there, for while they sometimes questioned my choices, they never interfered with what I wanted to do in life. And I sure wish they could have been here tonight. My sister Sheila Metzger is here, and while we sometimes, shall we say, disagree, as siblings do, I always knew she was the one person who would be there as I will always be for her. I have another sister, Diane Reif, which I will speak to you about in a moment. The biggest influence in my early life, carrying on to this very moment, was and still is my paternal grandmother, Emma Reif. Unfortunately, Sheila and Diane never really got to know her. She was tough as nails farm wife who had 9 children, raising these children during hard times in the 1920s, the Depression of the 1930s, and the war in the 1940s. She was also a very gentle soul who had a strong sense of right and wrong and treated everybody with respect and dignity. Grandma became a widow in the 1960s, shortly after I was born, and she had retired to Hoisington. I spent many hours with her. She was a devout Catholic, but also one that never wore it on her sleeve and would never attempt to impose it on others. I remember seeing in her bedroom the customary Catholic crucifix on the wall above the headboard of her bed. I also remember next to the crucifix, as if I just saw it 5 minutes ago, a small postcard that was in a black frame. The picture on the card was of the first Catholic president of the United States. I learned as time went on that, like many people of her time, she admired that president and was profoundly impacted when he died so tragically. She impressed upon her grandson, me, that we should live our lives as he implored America to do good for people who were less fortunate than us and to give something back to our community and to our country, further encouraging me to be knowledgeable about current affairs and to pursue the law as a career. Little did I know back then that our family would later share a common experience with that president's family. When my sister Diane came along, for it was evident before long that she was special. Yes, she was born with intellectual disabilities, Down syndrome. There were great challenges in those years, but I'm happy to report tonight that Diane is leading a productive life. She is enjoying the fruits of living that everybody deserves, regardless of their station in life. No one can truly understand what it is like to be the family member of one with intellectual disabilities. It brings a totally different perspective on life and how we should treat others. So when one asks me why I have such an admiration for that president and his family, you can blame it on Grandma and my sister Diane. These were the primary influences, along with teachers such as Sister Agnes Clare, Marjorie Wilgen, and Bruce Custer, that sent me out the door to Fort Hays State University. Arriving here, pretty naive, but also very idealistic, those passions were strengthened by the likes of Professors Don Slechta, Dick Heil, Pat Drinan, Ann Liston, Rose Arnold, and am honored another professor, Larry Gould, is here tonight. Larry, you and your colleagues allowed me to grow as a person and to live out those dreams, and rarely a day goes by when I don't think about what you all taught me. College allowed me to do other things, such as being the president of the student body. It was during that term I became acquainted with another person here tonight, Steve Wood, who was the director of the union. Along with my late great buddy, Gary Jones, I had the honor to work with Steve, planning the rededication of the union in 1983 with the unveiling of the plaque that is on display near the front door of the union, which honors Fort Hays State students and alumni who gave their lives in defense of freedom. It was rededicated again last November to add 2 names of Fort Hays grads who died in Afghanistan. This is one of the greatest honors of my life, being involved in this project. And Steve, I thank you for that opportunity. And as a result, we have been friends now for over 40 years. Work as a lawyer has provided great rewards, such as completing the adoptions of over 150 children, many of whom were abused, neglected in foster homes, but are tonight either in loving homes with parents who care, or many are now raising families of their own. I have tried to give back as Grandma commanded me to do, provide free legal service to men and women who are in uniforms serving the country in the armed forces, and finally establishing a scholarship fund here at Fort Hays State to assist those who want to pursue the law as a career. My charge to you tonight is we all owe a duty to be good stewards of this country, to leave it better than we found it, to help the poor, the elderly, the disabled, the sick, be tolerant of those who look or act differently than we do, to dry the tear of a hurt child, care for a hurt animal, and above all, my real charge to you is to be a friend to the one of the over 200 million people on earth who have an intellectual disability. You'll never regret it. And remember the words of the president my grandmother adored. He said at American University in the last summer of his life that for in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future, and we are all mortal. Thank you very much.